Welcome. Today is May 21st, 2026. This is the Chatham Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. And we start off with a message from the Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled or on-demand viewing or on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, including the use of AI note-taking apps, please notify the chair. Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 28, 2025 signing of Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 20, until June 30th, 2027. This meeting of the Chatham Zoning Board of Appeals is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the number 1-508-945-4410, conference ID 359-262-418, or join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link in the posted agenda. While this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV Xfinity Channel 1072, despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide real-time access. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. In accordance with the town policy, the public can speak to any issue or hearing or business item on the agenda during the meeting when recognized by the chair.
Thank you, Steve. To authorize this form of meeting, we need a roll call. All members, starting with Mr. Veach.
Yes, David H. Veach, and I approve this meeting format.
Ed Acton, and I approve.
Paul C. Semple, I approve this format.
David S. Nixon, I approve.
Stephen D. DeBoer, and I approve.
Lee Hovey, I approve.
I would ask that any citizens, non-board members participating in the call via the phone, please give us your name and the last 4 digits of your phone number for ID purposes. Our meetings are conducted in the following manner. The hearing notice is read by the lady to my right. This is Sarah B. Clark. She's the PPO for the town of Chatham. That's Principal Permitting Officer. We would then have a presentation by the applicant or the applicant's attorney, whoever it might be. Following that, I would ask for anybody who wishes to speak in favor of the appeal to do so. That would either be here in person or on Microsoft Teams. I would then read any and all letters that we had received, whether pro or con. We would then have anyone who wishes to speak that has a question or wishes to speak against the application to do so. Could be rebuttal after that. We then have questions from the board members. Following that, we would close the public hearing and go into deliberation, where we would discuss amongst ourselves how we feel about it. We would then take a vote, hopefully. That would be taken by a roll call, as we just had. To be successful in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you need to get 4 positive votes. There's 5 votes. And today's voter, Sarah, will be?
Will be, David Nixon, David Veach, Paul Semple. When Ms. Fenwick, if Ms. Fenwick arrives, Virginia Fenwick, and our alternate voting will be Lee Hovey. If we get through our first application or the minutes prior to Virginia arriving, Steve will be the voter.
Okay. Any questions? First business is we have some minutes.
We do
Oh.
have some minutes. We have the minutes of a meeting held on March 26, 2026. I was not actually present for that meeting, but I'll move to approve those minutes, but will not vote.
Yeah, Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Okay, we need a vote on that. Paul?
As I say, I'm not going to vote because I was not here.
Okay, who was here?
Paul's abstention is fine.
Okay.
But Ed could vote if you'd like.
Okay. I'll vote yes on that, too. I think I was here that day. I'm a little confused. Okay, very good. How about April 29th, Paul?
We need the rest of the board to vote.
Want to vote on that?
Steve will vote to approve the minutes from March 26th.
And Lee?
Lee Hovey votes
Okay.
to approve.
There we go.
All right, I'll move on
That's a
to,
unanimous vote, incidentally.
I'll move on to the minutes of a meeting held on April 9, 2026. I'll move to approve those minutes as published.
Yeah, Dave Veach seconds and votes in favor.
And Paul votes in favor.
I vote yes.
I was absent.
I will vote to approve the minutes from April 9th, 2026.
All right, is that enough, people? How about Ed? Okay, well, there you go. I guess the four is it. All right. Thank you. So, Sarah, let's go to application, please, 26-028.
Application number 26-028, James Sokol and Deborah Parkin Sokol Family Trust, 17540, 164th Avenue Northeast, Woodinville, Washington, 98072. Owner of property located at 7 Black Duck Landing, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessors Map 12B, Block 1, Lot 19. The applicant proposes to install an exterior mechanical system appliance generator 29.7 feet from Cedar Street where a 40-foot setback is required. The property contains 13,133 square feet in the R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 9, and Section 8D2B of the Protective Bylaw.
Mr. Litchfield.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Bill Litchfield here on behalf of Jim and Deborah Sokol. Jim is seated more or less in the middle of the room. We are here for the installation of a generator, but I first want to explain how it is that it came to be where it is. It was not simply a courtesy to allow you to visualize it. It was, in fact, a result of a change in our bylaw. If you look at the second, third, and fourth pages of the handout, there is an application filed by the generator installer, and it was filed with the town, as you can see. Well, it's a poor copy, but received by the town on August 27th of last year. If you look at the third page, that is what was provided to the installer. It said the setback had to be 25 feet. It is. It's more than 25 feet. As Sarah read, it's 29.8 feet. However, there are perhaps 6 people in the United States who know that a zoning bylaw change can be retroactive to the date of its first advertising. Several of those 6 are in this room. But a normal person wouldn't know that. The Attorney General's office approved the bylaw change on August 29th, 2 days after this application. So Jim and Deborah and their installer put the generator where the bylaw said it could have been put, except that at the annual town meeting of May 2025, we changed our bylaw. That change, however, doesn't preclude the generator being located in the somewhat innocuous place where it is shown right there, but it does require a special permit from this board. It's not a special permit based on substantial detriment. It's a standard special permit, rather a finding that the use will not be detrimental to the neighborhood and that the use is involved with the general purpose and intent of the bylaw. Well, by virtue of the town's having changed its bylaw to allow special permits for generator, I think the latter is self-evident. So I'll go into the criteria as to adequacy of the site in terms of the size for the proposed use. We've got a 13,000 square foot lot, somewhat smaller than is now required in the current zoning district, but when Clara and Harry Burris built that house a long time ago, we didn't have zoning. The site is certainly adequate as to suitability, both the site, the lot itself, and the location. I think it can be found to be suitable for the generator as an accessory residential use. As you know, the bylaw was revised last year for situations exactly like this in which a generator could, with some difficulty, be located elsewhere, but both logic and the gas line suggest that this is the appropriate place for it. No impact on traffic flow and safety. As to neighborhood visual character, it is at present minimal, but the reason we have not yet planted the planned vegetative screen is because we wanted to make sure we had finally all of our ducks in a row, and there will be vegetative screening there. But there's broad neighborhood support for the placement of the generator, and no negative comments whatsoever about neighborhood visual character, and that is without the planned vegetative screening being done. There are no issues of sewage disposal or utilities as to noise and litter. There's no litter involved. There will be minimal weekly testing. Some generators run for 5 minutes, some run for 15 once a week. That's not going to bother anybody where it's located. And when it is running, because we have a power failure, I think we all have larger problems than the noise that will be generated by the generator. As to compatibility as an accessory residential use, it's certainly compatible, and several neighborhood properties have generators. There's no impact on the natural environment. So, as you know, the special permit, again, requires a finding that the use will not be detrimental to the established future character of the neighborhood. The neighbors have written strongly in support of them. There are 4 or 5 letters that the chair will read. And also, the use involved will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the bylaw. You know the purpose and intent of the bylaw, and one of the, protection of persons, protection of public safety and things like that. And given the record of our electric utilities, generators are fairly reasonable responses. So I think on the facts and the circumstances, you can find that the requirements of the special permit have been met. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Is there anyone here today or on Microsoft Teams who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, indicate you'd like to join the conversation. Don't see anyone, so I'll read the correspondence. The first is from Richard and Kathleen Murner. They write on May 14th, during the blizzard of 2026, a young daughter was babysitting for her parents' 2 dogs who were over 2,000 miles away. Because of this generator, both the daughter and the dogs were safe and warm, and the heated house was undamaged. As owners of the property at 30 Black Dog Landing, our property overlooks this property, and we are sending this in support of their special permit application for a generator on their property. This generator is of no significance to us or fellow Black Dog Landing neighbors, but as shown above, will provide essential support during electrical power outages, which often happen in Chatham. We hope the Board of Appeals will uphold the special permit. Then we have a email. This is dated May 13th. It is from Howard W. Muhm, M-U-H-M. I'm the owner of 230 Cedar, the property across Cedar Street from the Skoggles house, which is the subject of the pending application. I fully support the so-called addition of a generator on their property. The placement almost 30 feet from the Cedar Street setback seems completely appropriate. It will not be detrimental to our neighborhood. I'm in favor of their proposal. From past experiences, I believe the special permit process is met for installations just like this one. As a nearby landowner, I respectfully urge the board to vote in support of this request. Thank you. Then we have a note from Vincent and Joanne Longo Silvestri. They write on May 13th, are writing in full support. Our property at 16 Black Dog Landing, 6 across the street. We have known this family for more than 20 years, and they're outstanding and highly responsible residents. We're very fortunate to have them as neighbors and friends. The chosen location of the generator is suitable, appropriate, and fitting. We have considered the matter carefully and see no negative efforts for our street, our home, or our neighbors as associated with this necessary project. Given the often severe and unpredictable nature of the weather experienced on the Cape over the past several years, this is a prudent and needed addition to the property. As a result, we extend our unconditional support. And then we have a letter. This is from George and Mildred Seibert, 49 Black Dog Landing. Actually, it's probably Seibert. May 11th, we want to express our support. After this past winter's outages, we're happy our neighbors will now have the peace of mind to be able to remain safely at home. We live on Black Dog Landing and pass their house daily. The location of their generator does not in any way impact us, but is in keeping with the location of similar generators in the neighborhood. We are in favor of their proposal. Is there anyone here today or on microphone teams that wishes to speak against this or has a specific question? If so, please indicate you'd like to join the conversation now. Seeing no one? Questions from the board? Mr. Veach.
I have no questions.
No questions.
No questions.
No questions.
No questions.
No questions.
Nor do I. Paul?
I will move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Yes,
Okay.
Dave Veach seconds and votes in favor.
All votes yes?
I vote yes.
Ginny votes yes. I vote yes.
That's unanimous. So deliberations, Ed?
It seems more than reasonable to me. It seems like they got caught up in a little bit of a zoning change, and the site seems appropriate to me, and the fact that they're going to screen it is even better. So, no issues. And it certainly, to my opinion, meets, the performance standard for a special permit.
Paul?
Yes, I agree. It certainly does not detrimental to the established or future character of the neighborhood, and it will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the bylaw.
Jenny?
So I agree with my colleagues. I also wanted to add, Mr. Litchfield, I apologize for missing the beginning of your narrative, but I did have the opportunity when I visited the site to talk to Mr. Sokol, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, directly. And so I feel like I do have the full background on what you were sharing at the beginning. And so I agree with my colleagues. I think that it is, it meets the criteria, especially with the revised bylaw, and it makes sense where it's located, not detrimental to the neighborhood. So I would support it.
Steve?
Well, I think that I probably would have chosen a different location for the generator. It is visible from Cedar Street, and whether or not it's going to be, has some vegetation in front of it is I guess, going to rectify some of that, but in the wintertime, it's going to be probably very visible. I think it would have been better off maybe in the backyard behind the fence. Wouldn't have been that difficult to install it there. There's also an air conditioning unit there that's not overly attractive, so I think it could have been done better. But, generators are a necessity, so it is what it is.
Lee?
I agree with my colleagues. I think it's fine. Screening will definitely help a lot.
Dave Veach?
Yes, and I agree with all previous, and would also point out that frequently the siting of a generator is at least in an ideal sense, is based on the location of the gas line and its proximity to the electrical panel. So that can often determine attempts of placement.
Yeah, and I fully agree that this makes sense.
I will move to approve the application as submitted.
And Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Paul votes yes.
Ginny votes yes. I vote yes.
And I vote yes. That's a unanimous vote. Thank you very much.
Thank
Mr.
you very
Litchfield.
much.
Okay. Sarah, our next application is 26-029, please. Oh, okay. I'm reading the old one. We have a change, right? That's
So
right.
this one will be application number 25-065, the Lime Hill 22 Trust, care of James M. Norcross Esquire, P.O. Box 707, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owner of property located at 202 Lime Hill Road, also shown in the town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 12E, Block 4, Lot B6. The applicant seeks to create an unpaved footpath and construct an elevated stairway and an elevated walkway with attached kayak racks under Section 4A3A of the protective bylaw. The lot contains 31,100 square feet in the R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 9, and Section 8D2B of the protective bylaw. This was continued from August 28th, and November 6th, 2025, and January 8th, February 12th, and April 9th, 2026.
Jamie?
Thank you. Good afternoon. Jamie Norcross representing Ken Heiser, owner of the property. As you just heard in the legal ad, we've been lingering on the agenda for quite a while, so we appreciate your patience. Good news is we're ready to move forward today. With me is Mark Burgess, who designed the elevated walkway and the stairs, along with Bill Riley, presented, I think it was back in January and February, to the board for this proposal. It's been several months now, so I just briefly was going to go through an overview of the property and the project to reorientate the board to the application. Sarah, if you don't mind pulling up the subdivision plan that I sent over, please. Great. Thank you very much. So 202 Lime Hill Road is a very uniquely shaped lot. It is lot 7 on that plan. And so the bulk of the property, the upland, is the parcel that abuts the roadway at the top. And then you see in yellow, there is a 5-foot wide piece that then goes to a parcel at the bottom that's 100 feet wide that abuts Oyster Pond. Another unique factor for this property is that it's subject to an easement for the benefit of, I believe it's 5 or 6 properties on Lime Hill Road. And so when this was developed by the Buckley family back in the 1960s, and so this portion of Lime Hill Road that we're talking about, as you go down Lime Hill Road, there's a point where you can go left, going toward the Heiser property, you can go straight, going toward Christopher Harding Lane. And so this particular part of Lime Hill Road for the subdivision is everything past that left-hand turn. And so those parcels, when the Buckleys conveyed them out, they retained ownership of Lot 7, which was the family home for 50-odd years subsequent to the subdivision. They granted those 5 or 6 lots an easement right to, it's a 5-foot wide walking easement down the right-hand side of the property. As you see, as it gets past Lot 7, it's that part in yellow, they can walk down. And then they were also granted an easement in the 50-foot wide section of the portion of the property that abuts Oyster Pond that's labeled as Reserve Beach. And so each of those lots were granted within the Reserve Beach area an easement for bathing and mooring of boats. It was the 1960s, so things were a little bit different in terms of how specific they were. So that was as specific as the language was back then. The left-hand side, the private beach area, so the 50 feet on the left, that is for 202, Mr. Heiser's property. That's for his exclusive use. There's no easement rights within that portion of the property. And then, Sarah, if you could please pull up the site plan. And so the project, and it's a little harder to see the reserve beach and the private beach area as labeled on the subdivision plan, so I think that was helpful. So what you see here, the project is on the right-hand side, and I think this is an older version.
Yep.
Because it doesn't have the,
This would be the elevated stairs.
all right.
Okay, all right.
Revision.
Perfect, thank you. So the proposal is to construct what's labeled on the right-hand side in the area of the 5-foot wide easement. It's a proposed 3x8 landing and stairs. And if you've been out to the property, which I'm sure you have, you can see currently there's a footpath that goes down. It's clear where it is. It's not maintained or anything other than perhaps some of the grass is cut down, but there's a footpath that leads down into the salt marsh. And so the proposal would be to install the landing and stairs over that area, which would make access easier going down there for what can be a little bit steep and unsteady. And then the applicant proposes to create a 3-foot wide, what's labeled as managed access path, going from right to left. And so then that would meander along the easement parcel over to the beginning of the elevated walkway on the Mr. Heiser's 50-foot portion of the property that he has exclusive use on, and then that will go down to Oyster Pond. On the site now, you'll see there is a footpath that's right along the fence line, which abuts 206 Lime Hill Road. And at the request of the owner of 206, the proposal is to relocate that footpath further away from his property line so that he doesn't have as much impact with folks walking along that area. So the footpath would be relocated away from his property line. And then my client has retained Blue Flax Design, who is going to do an extensive mitigation restoration plan in that area that Sarah pulled up now, removing a lot of the invasives that are in that portion of the property and replanting. So it's going to be healthier native plantings that it's also going to provide effective screening at the request of the owner of 206 Lime Hill Road. In reviewing the meeting from several months ago, I know there were some questions and concerns raised and a request to look at moving the elevated walkway into the easement area or the reserve beach area. And I've spoken at length with Mr. Heiser about that. And it's not a location he's willing to construct the elevated walkway. And the primary reason is it's impossible for him to manage it if it's in the easement area. Any property and house that has a right to use the easement area would then have a right to use the elevated walkway. And that includes owners, guests, whoever's visiting can use that walkway, and it's impossible for him, practically speaking, to manage that. And it's one thing if it's Mr. and Mrs. Smith who own up the street who are using it, but then if they decide they're going to do vacation rentals, then you have weekly renters who are able to use the walkway. And so that leads into a management concern, and that also leads into a liability concern. So if someone were hurt using that walkway, they would look to Mr. Heiser, presumably, or potentially, for liability. And not being able to manage or control it, he has no way of knowing who's using it, who they are, what property they're from. And so it's important to him to be able to have it on his property where he is able to manage who uses it. And I don't want to paint it as a situation where he's trying to be a bad neighbor and say nobody else can use it. He said if somebody comes to me and says, can I use that? He's probably likely to say they can. But again, he can manage it that way. If it's in the easement area, anybody can use it that has easement rights, including renters, tenants, visitors, and guests. And he has no ability to manage who's using the walkway if it's within the easement area. Another concern seemed to be environmental. I would note that the Conservation Commission, since the last meeting, has issued an order of conditions allowing the project to go forward. They felt that it met the requirements of the Wetlands Protection Act and the local wetlands bylaw. And so we have that approval from the Conservation Commission. The only change they required from the last plan that you saw is that the elevated walkway is going to be seasonal as opposed to a permanent structure. Questions were raised saying, well, you're removing some use of the salt marsh, but not the entire use because the Heiser property can use it, but not the easement holders. And that's correct. I mean, we're not 100% removing use of the salt marsh potentially by the easement holders, but regardless, Mr. Heiser and his family and guests using this is a benefit to the environment. It represents a positive outcome for this. And while a location might result in what is viewed as a less environmental impact, the fact is it's still an improvement to the environment, what we're proposing, if it's within his exclusive use area, and it's certainly not detrimental to the environment as seen by the Conservation Commission. Briefly run through some of the, I guess, more relevant criteria, if I may. Suitability of the site for the proposed use. I would say the site is suitable. The elevated stairways will create safe access for everyone walking down the path, and the elevated walkway will create, as I mentioned, an environmental benefit as less damage is caused to the underlying vegetation and provide safer access for my client and his family. Number 4, impact on neighborhood visual character, including views and vistas. As I mentioned, as part of the project, the applicant is undertaking extensive mitigation and buffer plantings. I was out there again this morning, and I think, at least from the street side, this is greatly shielded from view from anyone, really, out there. From the water side, obviously, it's visible if you're going down Oyster River, but there are several abutting properties that have these structures already, so I don't think it's going to be, it's not going to be incompatible with the neighboring properties to have this type of structure out there. And if you've been out there and you've seen the neighboring structures, it's one of the, I think it's a situation where it almost looks larger on paper than it's going to look when you see it on the ground. And you see those neighboring structures that have these elevated walkways, and they don't look big and they're not cumbersome. And I certainly don't think they overwhelm or negatively impact from the streetscape as seen from the river. Number 8, compatibility of the proposed use with surrounding land uses, accessory use to a residential home, and I would say it's compatible with the surrounding land uses, and certainly compatible with the neighboring properties that have a similar structure already. Number 9, impact on the natural environment. Again, I think it's a positive addition. Again, there might be a different location that's more positive, but it doesn't mean that this is not positive, and it certainly doesn't mean that it's detrimental in any way to the environment or to the neighborhood. And as I mentioned, the Conservation Commission has approved this after an extensive review under their regulations, the Wetlands Protections Regulations, to find that it can be, or was approved, and doesn't represent a negative impact on the environment. So lastly, just in summary, I would say, is there a location that might be preferred? Perhaps, but that doesn't mean this location is detrimental, which is the standard that this board is to look at. Is it detrimental to the neighborhood? I suggest to you it's not detrimental in any way. It's a positive. It's a positive of the environment. It's a positive for my client's use of his property, and he's looked at other options, and there's just a lot of issues that come along with other options that really aren't feasible for him. So I think based on your criteria and looking at it as a standard of substantially detrimental, I think we certainly qualify and meet the criteria of the bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you.
Le Grand Fromage speaks.
And your name, sir?
Bill Riley.
Thank you.
And the reason why, there's never been an elevated walkway or catwalk that's been denied either by conservation or zoning. And the reason for that is that waterfront property owners are going to access the water in front of their property. And when there's a salt marsh, if they walk through the salt marsh, they destroy the salt marsh. And we all know that salt marsh is an important ecological benefit that a lot of Chatham, enjoys. So I think that when we have a project that is universally amongst environmental folks approved, that the Conservation Commission's decision should be supported by the zoning board. Thank you.
Would that be your presentation?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Is there anyone here today that would like to speak in favor of this or on Microsoft Teams? If so, please let us know if you wish to join the conversation. Don't see anyone, so I'll read the correspondence. First, we have on May 4th, a letter from the Conservation Commission here in the town of Chatham. The applicant submitted a notice of intent on July 7th, 2025. The project was heard by the Conservation Commission on September 10th, 2025, October 8th, 2025, December 17th, 2025, January 14th, 2026, April 22nd, 2026. The project was then conditioned to meet the performance standards under the Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Local Wetland Bylaw, Chapter 272, and regulations promulgated thereunder. Then we have a letter. This is dated April 8th. And this is from the South Coastal Harbor Plan Committee. During the July 30th meeting of the South Coastal Harbor Plan Committee, the proposed plan for a new catwalk at the shoreline of 202 Lime Hill Road was presented by the consultant Mark Burgess. The following list sums up the committee's thoughts on the proposal. First, there is an overgrown, highly vegetated footpath proposed to be reestablished through the highly vegetated bank located landward of the salt marsh and shoreline. The 50-foot structure starts at the end of the currently overgrown path and extends over the salt marsh and beyond the mean high water mark to go to the end of the marsh. This structure will therefore need a Chapter 91 license. Once a Chapter 91 license is required, public access over, under, or around the structure is required. This led to stairs being placed right in the salt marsh. The stairs then negate the effort to protect the salt marsh as they appear to entice people to walk in the salt marsh. Number two, the proposed catwalk will be private and will not be accessible to those that utilize the abutting neighborhood easement and therefore will not help alleviate the majority of foot traffic in the vicinity to protect the marsh. Number three, the purpose of this new catwalk is to launch kayaks, which can easily be done by driving less than a mile to the Oyster Pond Furlong Town Landing. Number four, the committee also believes that with the documented rising sea levels, more needs to be done to help protect our coastal marsh and waterfront ecosystems from overdevelopment. Our marshfront ecosystem acts as a buffer to sea level rise by being a quote-unquote shock absorber to the rising tides, and therefore we feel limiting activity on our waterfront marsh ecosystems is critical. Finally, the committee believes more needs to be done to preserve the character of Chatham's pristine harbors and estuaries. New docks were prohibited over 10 years ago to stop new man-made structures along the waterfront. A proliferation of catwalks followed the dock prohibition. Some of these new catwalks are now being illegally used as docks with boats tied to them. These catwalks contain hauling bridle lines to haul their boats into their catwalk at high tide, which is not the intention approved use of catwalks and is a way of skirting the dock prohibition regulations. Based on the above-mentioned items, the South Coastal Harbor Committee is not in favor of a permitted catwalk at this site. The committee has sent a similar letter to the Conservation Commission requesting that if the catwalk is permitted, detailed conditions on the use of the catwalk should be included in the order of conditions. We recommend conditions to only allow for launch of personal non-motorized watercraft, no boat haul lines or tie-ups to the catwalk, and no storage of any watercraft within the salt marsh. Signed, Tom King, Chair, South Coastal Harbor Plan Committee, Town of Chatham. That is the extent of the correspondence. Is there anyone here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak against this plan or has a specific question? If so, please indicate you'd like to join the conversation. Don't see anyone. So, gentlemen, would you like to rebut the letter I just read?
Yes, we would. Mr. Burgess is going to go through some of the specifics of the letter.
Yes, thank you. For the record, Mark Burgess, Shorefront Consulting. I'm the designer for this project. Mr. Nixon and I have probably worked together for the last 20 years on several catwalk projects, 3 of which are on the Oyster Creek. They all are about 30 to 40 feet long, with the exception of one that is well over 100, almost 180 feet long. I forget the name of the road, but it's to the west. So there's several of these walkways that have been installed. This walkway is exactly the same principle and purpose as all of the other walkways that have always been approved by the zoning board. In specifics for this letter, well, the principle is what Jamie said. It is much better to properly design and use a structure to gain access over the salt marsh than to walk through it and trample it, drag kayaks and things like that. This particular area has a safety concern because there's holes in the marsh, and people have stepped in there and twisted their ankle. Doesn't happen a lot, but there's little sinkholes in this particular portion of the marsh. Specifically for Mr. Nixon's letter, I don't need to pick it apart. There's some speculation in here.
I didn't write the letter, it was Mr. King.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Dave.
Thank you.
Mr. King's letter. My apologies.
It's all right.
This is exactly the same letter that they wrote and submitted to the commission in August of 2025. It incorrectly references a 50-foot structure, and it incorrectly references the stairs in the salt marsh. The stairs in the salt marsh were initially for Chapter 91, because that's where they want to put the stairs in at mean high water, which is halfway through the marsh. So I have to start by putting them there. I sent the plan to DEP Waterways, and I got approval to run the public access, Chapter 91 public access, up and around the beginning of the walkway. That is common. You have to ask for it. So that's why there are no stairs in the marsh now. The structure has also been shortened to 40 feet. What I believe Mr. King failed to do was review any of the post revisions of the project and simply resubmitted his letter. It is word for word the same letter. So he failed to review the most current proposal, and therefore this letter is irrelevant to the current proposal before you. That would be my response to it.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll have questions from the board. We'll start with Paul.
Let me start with I've looked at the plans once again. In looking at what I think is the most current site plan, it looks to me as if the proposed walkway and access down to the beach is between, on the plan, A and B and C, or A and B, down to what's called the reserve beach, private beach. Is that correct? No, down by the water, BB, A, yes. Right, okay, right down there. What I'm having a little trouble with is, as I read our regulation, we talk in terms of catwalks shall not extend beyond the most seaward point of the salt or freshwater marsh, etc., or beyond the mean high water mark. Is the mean high water in this situation the blue line?
Yes, the catwalks are allowed to extend to the end of the salt marsh, and they must have a ladder at the end.
But are they able to extend beyond the mean high water mark?
They do, yes, they all do.
So how does that reconcile with the regulations?
That's how it's always been interpreted, Paul, is that it's sort of an either or in terms of it can go to the end of the salt marsh. I understand what you're talking about with that provision of mean high water.
Paul, in other words, it's supposed to stop at mean high water or the end of the marsh if it extends past mean high water. That's the way it's always been interpreted.
Okay. So you can do it as long as you're going to where, all right, I'm still having a little trouble understanding the language there. Shall not extend beyond the seaward point of the salt or fresh meadow marsh, beyond mean high water, or beyond the point where a horizontal plane 2 foot above the natural high water mark or a freshwater body intersects the landform. How,
Well, I don't have the bylaw in front of me, but
I do.
I know you do, and that's a wonderful thing. But the point is, you go out to the end of the marsh, even if it's out past mean high water. The idea is to protect the marsh. That's the whole goal of the elevated walkway.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out how it's consistent with the language of our bylaw. What you're suggesting, how is it consistent with the language of the bylaw when the bylaw says,
That's the way
Can't
it's
go-
always been interpreted. There's been no change in the bylaw. In every single catwalk, the bylaw has been interpreted this way. Every single catwalk extends past mean high water out to the end of the marsh.
Sarah?
In this instance, because I do review these when they go to conservation, this particular catwalk ends at mean high water and the edge of the salt marsh. Those lines happen to coincide at the end of this where the ladder comes down. Right where B is shown.
So the ladder comes down at the end. Now, isn't the ladder to the right? Yeah, right there. That's where the ladder is. Now. This is mean high water. Yeah. And so is the ladder in water?
The ladder would extend down only low enough so that you can step off of it onto the ground below. It doesn't penetrate into the ground.
Okay, but I mean, if it's high tide, is it into water? Are you
Yeah.
stepping into water?
Yeah.
All right. And would the use of the ladder be done by anyone other than kayakers?
Depends on why you want to access over the marsh to get to the beach. If you want to walk on the beach, you would walk over the catwalk and down there without a kayak, and you could stroll along the beach if you want. Or
Okay.
so there's several uses.
I remember Mr. Burns, when he spoke to us concerning his use of the area and the convenience of having access there was in part because you would be loading or unloading people from a boat to give them access onto the catwalk if that were given permission, so that they were not necessarily going into the water when they got on or off the boat. Is that one of the uses that would be made here?
That's not what these are for. If people use the catwalk as a dock, similar to a dock, that is a violation of their order of conditions.
Okay. So a restriction on the use of it would be consistent if we said it was not to be used by a motorized boat.
Correct.
Correct. Absolutely.
That's consistent with every catwalk that I've gotten approved.
I noticed in your testimony with the Conservation Commission that you initially had proposed that this be a permanent structure as opposed to a temporary. And you felt that permanent was more appropriate from an environmental standpoint because using a temporary structure that required removal tended to lead to more damage to the area because of the need to go in and out of there with maintenance crews and so forth.
Correct. Agreed. The commission had us change it to a seasonal, but only for the decking. So the pilings and the framing will stay in. The decking is removed seasonally for sunlight to transmit underneath in the off-growing season. So it's kind of a hybrid. You get the permanence of no disturbance to the salt marsh substrate ever again, but you get the seasonal increase of light in the off-season.
So you don't think that there would be disturbance to the substrate based on taking the decking on and off
No, they
in
should
the
be
fall
able,
and, in the fall into the spring.
yeah, the decking sections aren't very heavy. They should be able to pick up, go out to the end of the walkway, pick it up, walk back, pick up the second one, walk back, pick up the third one, walk back.
Okay.
Probably not even step foot in the marsh at all.
I have no other questions.
Thank you.
Jenny?
Okay, I want to follow up a little more on the seasonal aspect as well. I did watch the conservation hearing. I heard you say that that is an element. So, you did say there is disturbance to put in the piling, so you acknowledge there's the disturbance that one time, but disturbance nonetheless. And then the seasonal would just be the decking, and agree with, I want to just reiterate what Paul asked. No expected disturbance twice a year to take them off, put them back. You're familiar with that practice, and,
If I had to do it myself, I would walk out there on the decking, remove it or replace it from the catwalk.
Typically, that's how it's done.
Yeah.
okay. Can you define seasonal? I don't think I heard that in the conservation hearing. I might have missed that, but, like, is it a date to date? Is there an enforcement process associated with that?
Yeah, I believe, I don't have the order in front of me either, but I believe it's November to April.
Okay, so that would be a routine cycle. What about enforcement? Like, is this just on the homeowner to make sure that they do that? Is that, how
I
is
think
that?
there's plenty of people that are gonna watch this that will enforce it for them.
It's I mean, if they weren't, I don't think they do routine inspections, but, well, they might actually, I don't know that, but it would be considered a violation if they don't remove it when they're supposed to, before the season.
It's like every special permit that's issued.
Okay. So am I understanding that I'm a little confused, Jamie, I apologize, I know you've gone through this several times. Are the stairs staying as they are right now? They're not being rebuilt, they're not, the existing in-ground steps?
There are no in-ground steps currently.
Okay, they were proposed steps.
They were proposed in-ground steps, but
Okay.
that
Is off.
requires grading in the Conservancy District, which is not allowed.
Okay, so that's been removed from the proposal?
Right, instead it's going to be if you have to go up a little bit, but you can see it's a elevated stairs going down with a landing in place of at-grade steps.
Through that vegetated path needs to be.
No, so it's, Sarah, if you don't mind pulling the plan down a little bit.
Oh,
Mark, she's not.
Mark. Mark,
It's all right.
right there. Mark, right there.
It's the stairs that you see, the proposed 3x8 landing and stairs are what are being proposed in lieu of the at-grade steps. So as you walk down the Heiser property,
Okay.
there's a little bit of a slope down as you
Right.
get to the top of the salt marsh. And so those steps, there'd be a landing and stairs there, and then going horizontally would be a footpath, no structure, but just a footpath, then get over to the start of the walkway.
And that footpath is just, above the salt marsh, right? That is in the green right there, okay?
Yes.
Landward of the salt marsh. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sorry, so the stairs were proposed last time?
I'm sorry, what?
The stairs were proposed last time?
A lot
they
of,
were.
Yes.
there's a lot of variations on plans,
Okay.
but yeah, I think those were part of the last
Okay,
proposal. Yep.
so stairs, and then not through the salt marsh, but just above the salt marsh, right there?
Correct.
Okay. And then there, and then 40 feet starts at that point of the catwalk?
Yes.
40 feet, okay. All right. So can I ask about the kayak racks? Is that being proposed still, or was that taken off the table?
The only change between revision 3 and revision 4 was to make the decking seasonal.
Okay, so
the
you'd
last
still
plan
like-
you saw the last plan that you saw for the first zoning meeting was the same, with the exception that the decking is now seasonal. That's the only change.
Okay, all right. So you are proposing kayak racks?
Yes.
Yes.
Are you proposing or expecting there to be non-motorized watercraft that could be tied up to there?
Nothing should be tied up to the,
Okay.
the kayak racks bolt to the side, they can remain, and that prevents people from storing the kayaks on lawn vegetation or the salt marsh. We know that happens quite often. So these are a convenient place to store the kayaks. If I own the property, the kayaks are out of there when the decking goes out. No one's kayaking.
Well, I was referring to the letter that was written by, yes, Mr. King. And there were some things in there that they were suggesting. Would you be okay with boat haul lines or tie-ups to the catwalk being prohibited?
Those are standard conditions, I believe.
Yeah, the answer is yes.
Yes.
Okay. And then storage of watercraft within the salt marsh would be prohibited?
Always prohibited,
Okay.
yes.
All right. And then only launching personal, non-motorized watercraft?
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right, just want to confirm that. Okay, those are the questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah has found the wordage on seasonal. The catwalk shall be seasonal and shall be removed each year no later than November 1st, and shall not be replaced before May 1st.
May 1st.
Thank you, Sarah. Steve?
Can you just, I was a little unclear, can you just restate what changes, if any, there are for the people who currently have access to the easement? Is all of that going to stay the same? The people that have the ability to access this will still have that
The
ability?
easement area, the only change would be the landing and stairs to which they have the ability to walk down over the existing footpath.
Which will make it safer for them.
Right, so they're going to have the same access as they do now?
Yes.
Okay.
That doesn't change.
And it's actually being enhanced by the addition of the stairs?
I believe so, yes.
How tall is that ladder at the end? About
Um,
3 feet, 4
Let's say that
feet,
this-
10 feet?
Let's say this was the decking. You need enough, probably like this, and then down just above the ground.
So maybe 4 feet,
What, the total length of it?
yeah, of the ladder,
I can scale it on the plan, but
approximate.
probably closer to
It starts at
8
5.
feet,
It goes down to
All right.
minus 3.
mean high water, mean low water.
And that's, you can fold that up or something in inclement weather, or is
No.
semi-permanent?
Nailed right to the end of the,
So it's, okay, so it's semi-permanent, but it's removable in the seasonal way?
Well, the only thing that the commission wanted us to remove was the decking. The ladder doesn't affect anything,
Okay.
shading or anything like that.
Okay.
And they're put on sturdily, I would say, and so it's designed to stay there.
Okay. And the part that's seasonal is from that ladder to approximately where the kayak rack is. Is that true?
Yes,
Okay.
four sections.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I had similar questions regarding the elevated stairway, if the easement users were still going to be able to use it, or were going to be able to use it. And I think that's a huge improvement for them. Regarding the ladder, what is the ladder made out of? Is it metal? Is it wood?
The ones that I've seen on the older catwalks, they're wooden, but nowadays it's easier to just to buy an aluminum one and clamp it and brace it to
Okay.
the frame.
Is there any thought of making it flip up?
I guess if the applicant wanted to, he could, but it's not required. But
the answer is no. And the reason why we used to have situations where we had steps coming off like a revetment that were angled out and would be in an area where there was surf. And so Conservation Commission always wanted those to be able to be removed so they wouldn't be damaged in a storm event. They're actually bolted right to the last set of risers, support frames. So there's no angle out, they're just bolted right to the end, so no, they wouldn't be flipping up.
So sometimes ladders get slippery or barnacles. and you don't really want to be climbing up and down those. So that's why I'm just saying, if you can get it out of the water, it might save that.
I think I think it's a maintenance item. Like most nautical things.
Yeah. I think that's it. Thank you.
Dave Veach.
Yeah, let's see. So Jamie, I just want to clarify, because you were mentioning that about the substantial detriment standard in terms of placement and things, but this is the Section 8 approval, and my understanding is that the substantial detriment is not the standard necessarily that we use. The Section 8, we're using the establish future character, and
Yeah.
Paul can probably quote me
No,
better than
you're
I-
correct. I misspoke when I said.
Okay, I just
substantially.
check, we just want to
You're
check.
right. Yep.
And you've answered, I'm sorry, you've answered about, talking about some of these questions. The letter from the South Coast Management thing was a little bit of a surprise to me, and so the suggested conditions that they were, it seemed to be making to the CONSCOM to include in their order of conditions. What you've said is that, I'm being led to believe that what you've said is those are pretty much standard as part of their orders of conditions when they approve these catwalks. That's correct? So
My understanding, yes.
it isn't that we necessarily have to impose those ourselves, that's already part of the order of conditions
No objection if they do.
that has been applied or been granted.
Right, they should be part of the order of conditions. Obviously, if, I should say obviously, but if zoning board felt necessary to include those, we have no objection to that. It's a use that we don't intend to
Okay,
use.
okay. And it seems to me, looking at the new pathway from the foot of the stairs, the access stairs going over, it seems to me that would be, whereas it's currently now up higher on the hill, the
Right.
pathway. It seems to me that pathway being delineated there would be a positive with respect to offering better protection for the salt marsh, for any longshore access, people fishing or fouling or navigating or whatever, that they would be inclined to use that path. It may not be, I don't know, I'm trying to think, it's above mean high water, so I don't know how that comports with the colonial access laws, but,
I can speak to that.
Sure.
That actual path is right on the other side of the fence, and that's still Mr. Doggert's property. So it's not, that path is not within the area that they're allowed
He's
to.
talking about the new path.
I'm talking about the new path.
Right, no, I think what, as Mark mentioned earlier, the Chapter 91 says, instead of putting stairs down between mean high and mean low, we agree that the access for fish fouling and navigation would be above.
Around the end.
Right.
Yeah, okay. And what, just for my own edification, what triggers the need for a Chapter 91 license? Is it going into, Mark,
Any structure that extends beyond or seaward of the mean high water line.
of mean high water? Okay.
Yep, so your public access is up and around, right here.
Right, that I sort of can read from the plan. So it isn't like a set of stairs on either side, it's going up and walking around the end of it.
Correct. In certain circumstances, we can get rid of the stairs if the access is close enough.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, and
Okay.
DEP agreed to that.
Yeah, okay. I think that's all I have, right? Thanks.
Ed? My one question was also regarding the new path between the structures. Currently, you're walking up above through the lawn area. And the reason it's being moved down is really to appease the neighbor and not having people walk across his yard.
Correct, he
Yeah.
didn't want a little bit of a buffer
Yeah.
there created.
And, I would prefer it up in that area, but I understand perhaps the situation going on, and I guess the fact that you're doing mitigation and, to Dave's point, having that path down closer to the water for people fishing or shell fishing or whatever might be actually beneficial. So that pretty much covered my question. Thank you.
Great, you're welcome.
Anything else, Ed? Nope. Paul?
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
All votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Deliberations, Steve, why don't you go first?
Okay, well, I guess I'm glad to see that, the negotiation process it's finally done with the CONSCOM, and that they've sort of given their blessing to your plan. I guess I think of them as sort of the subject matter experts on when something goes across the marsh or into the wetlands. So I think that as long as they're okay with it, and the neighbors are the people who still have access to that area will remain, I think it's fine.
Lee?
Well, I think it's fine too. I have to say, I really don't want to see more catwalks. I think it's kind of the new thing to do, and I get it. People want to access their water, but I'd like to see fewer. But I think that this is going to be okay. I especially like the seasonal removal of the decking only. I think that's really smart. And I also like the fact that now there's some stairs for the other people to get down there safely, and use their boats and kayaks and whatever from that area. So as much as I don't want to see more catwalks, I probably will approve this.
Thank you.
Dave Veach?
Yeah, I think, the hearing, reading some objections and hearing some objections and various problems and things, overall, I do feel that, as Lee does with the creation of the access stairs on the bank there, that's a definite improvement for safety and access. The new pathway, I think, at the bottom of the hill there is an improvement for everyone. The creation of the catwalk and as I'm in agreement with the way Jamie has presented it. I mean, this may not be, there may be some other locations, but I think he gave a good explanation for why the owner would not consider wanting to put this where he can't have any control over it. And if it's there, there's nothing that prevents him from being able to, on a case-by-case basis, grant the use of that to his neighbors, the ones that have the easement. And so that could very easily happen. So it can happen. It can be not just a one property. It can be under one owner, but it's that owner's option to be able to allow some community use of it. And so to the degree that does happen, we want to encourage that. And on an overall, I think that there's benefits all the way around, and whatever, having another catwalk, which we've been reminded, we haven't denied any catwalks in the time I've been here either, for the 15 years I've been here. So I just don't think that the objections that have been raised are really, the arguments are not good enough for me to say no with this. I really think that this is something that meets the criteria that we need to be reviewing it under. So,
Ed?
I would prefer to see the catwalk at the end of the stairs. I think, then that sort of allows a more public use to it. But understand the liability issues, and this is sort of a, work around that. So I don't think it's ideal, but if I were voting it, it would meet my standards, I guess. And thank you.
Paul?
Well, when I looked at this last hearing, I came down with the idea that perhaps we should leave this issue to the Conservation Commission. And I looked at the Conservation Commission hearing to see what their view was. Before, I think on their straw vote prior to that meeting, they had split 3-3 on whether to support this proposal. I think they sort of reluctantly ended up saying that they would agree to the proposal that's being made. The input from the South Coastal Harbor Plan Committee throws a little bit of a monkey wrench into that, in that they're taking a sort of broader view of catwalks in general and the way the Conservation Commission approves them. Their view, I think, is conditioned in part by what they've seen as a lot of abuse of catwalks, in the sense that the regulations are not enforced against non-motorized boats. And they were citing a series of things that are a little bit to the west of where this is located, in saying that there are issues there that they wish they did not have, and which seem to be ignoring what are conservation rules with respect to the use. And really, when we listened to, at least when I was listening to Mr. Burns talking about his use of their boat at the path on this location, he seemed to be saying to me that one of the things that was nice about catwalks or things of this nature is that they can pull their boat up to it and drop off passengers or pick up passengers, and that's a safer way to do it. Even though, with respect to the regulations at least, that would be prohibited. So it seems to me that what we can do, if we do this approval, is to condition it to some of the conditions that were proposed by the South Chatham Harbor Plan Committee. But overall, we're sort of balancing the question of whether this particular applicant should be simply using the same stairs and access that all of his neighbors would use, as opposed to putting in a private catwalk that would enable him to avoid doing that. To the extent that we have in the past approved catwalks for individuals, I think that probably this is consistent with that. But it's not consistent with the concept of what the South Coastal Harbor Plan Committee is suggesting should be done overall in the town with respect to catwalks. I've been on the edge on this one, and frankly, I would be inclined not to approve it to be consistent with the overall approach by South Coastal to the concept of additional catwalks on Oyster Pond. The restrictions hopefully would be followed if we impose the restrictions on this, but it's a difficult problem to acknowledge. The issues of liability and handling the maintenance and control and so forth, it seems to me applies to the stairs as well as to the catwalk. because you've got the same kind of access by all of the other neighbors and their guests on the stairs that you have on the catwalk, and that those could be provided for by agreement or by restrictions on use in some other way. So as you can see, there are a number of ideas that are sort of bouncing around in my head that I'm trying to come to reconciliation on. And I think that my inclination is to say that I think that the additional catwalk would have a negative effect on the environmental aspect of this properties and the properties at that location. As I remember the testimony that was provided by Mr. Burgess at the Conservation Commission, when he was arguing for the fact that it should be a permanent installation and not a temporary installation, it was in part that he felt that overall there was more damage caused by having a crew come in twice a year and remove the temporary stuff in order to comply with what was the Conservation Commission's overall concept that they don't like to approve any permanent installation. And that really depends on whether, how well it's done, how carefully it's done. So maybe we can put a condition on with respect to that, I'm not sure. But I guess my overall concern here is that we're putting a catwalk in at a location where 50 to 100 feet away is the same existing access that is used now and is going to be used by all the other neighbors. And that doesn't seem to me to be consistent with our concept of what we're trying to do here in town with respect to catwalks. So I think overall my conclusion would be not to approve the application as submitted.
Jenny?
So I too understand the desire to want a catwalk, but I don't know that I agree that the argument that the catwalk prevents people from traipsing through the salt marsh is really a good argument here, because the catwalk is only serving one household. So it's helping in that regard, but the stairs that are being built are taking people right to the salt marsh. So I think there's an incongruence there with what's being proposed. I appreciate the stairs being offered to be built there, but it's taking people right to the salt marsh, and that's their access. And then there's this really extensive catwalk that's being built for one household to help support the salt marsh from being, further damaged, but it's really not, it's not a solution that's really solving the protection of the salt marsh is really paramount for me too. I appreciate Mr. Burgess's comment about, precedent, and Jamie, you and Mr. Riley saying, there's a lot of precedent for catwalks in town, but really in the zoning world, there's no such thing as precedent, because those other catwalks, maybe they do, maybe they don't include the salt marsh. The salt marsh is so precious, so I don't know that is a blanket precedent that is applicable here. Also, I would add that Conservation did approve it, but it was a reluctant approval. I watched it too. It was a 4-1 vote, but, a really long pause for that fourth vote as I watched it, as I recall. And so I am leaning, as Paul is, to the tilt being more about the preservation broadly. I'm really struggling with criteria 9. That is the impact on the natural environment. And so if it was approved, I would definitely want to impose or ask for the conditions 1, 2, and 3 that we talked about before.
Well, at the end of the day, it's trying to control the actions of people that might or might not respect the salt marsh as it is, or what it should be, other people's property. But I feel it's worth a try. I really do. I don't want to leave it the way it is. It's just going to get worse over time. So this is an effort, granted. It's to the benefit of a private party, but I heard what you said, Jamie, about his reluctance, and it's absolutely true, to just open it up and say, hey, do what you want. So I guess you could say that what I'm essentially saying is some effort is better than none. It might not be great, but it is an effort to make the situation better than I think it's going to be over time, which is just get worse and worse. Paul? Would you like us to vote, Jamie?
I would,
us to vote?
please. Thank you.
All right, I'll move to approve the application as submitted with conditions that only the launching of personal non-motorized watercraft shall be permitted, that boat haul-up lines or tie-ups to the catwalk shall be prohibited, that storage of any watercraft within the salt marsh shall be prohibited, that all construction activity and vehicles shall be contained on site or at a neighboring property with the permission of the property owner. And I don't think we need to add that there's no storage of watercraft within the salt marsh because that's a condition of
Correct.
the ordinance.
Right.
I believe that's all of the conditions that I would suggest if we're going to
Okay.
approve it.
All right. Dave, how do you vote?
I will second and vote in the affirmative.
Paul?
I'm going to vote no.
Lee?
I vote yes.
Jenny?
I vote no.
And I vote yes. You needed 4 yes votes. You got 3.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Okay. Sarah, are we going to continue down the old list, or are we going to jump back and put 2?
Next one is 30.
Okay, so 2 is going to go 5.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So 26-030, please, Sarah.
Application number 26-030, Terry B. Wells and Janet L. Wells, care of Cape and Islands Engineering, Inc., 800 Falmouth Road, Suite 301, Mashpee, Mass. 02649. Owner of property located at 87 Plum Daffy Lane, also shown in the Town of Chatham's Assessors Map 9A, Block 5A, Lot D15. The applicant seeks to construct a landing and beach access stairs under Section 4A, 3A of the Protective Bylaw. The lot contains 45,355 square feet in the R20 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 9, and Section 8D2B of the Protective Bylaw.
Good evening. For the record, Raul Lizardi with Cape and Islands Engineering, representing the applicant and property owners for this application. So as described, this application is for obtaining approval for the construction of a seasonal stairs over an existing stone revetment to access the beach. The reason behind this application is that past storms last year began to cause erosion along the coastal bank. Although more than 200 feet of this shoreline is protected with a stone revetment, there is a portion on the southern part of the property that is not covered with stones or any other man-made structure. It was actually a natural landform that was a coastal bank. Over that coastal bank, there was a laid out on the ground footpath with rollout boardwalk, and then that led to an old timber stairs that led to the beach for the homeowners. The erosion that happened last year took away around some 2 or 5 feet, depending on where we measured, of the existing bank, and with that erosion, the walkway along the top of the bank was washed away, and the stairs that led to the beach were washed away. All of that structure that was mangled on the shoreline was removed from the site, and now what the applicant wants to do is a two-part project, is stabilizing the shoreline, but also reestablishing access to the beach. But instead of rebuilding in the old location of the former stairs, which were located roughly less than 20 feet from the property line, and traversing along the top of the bank to that location, we're having the applicant agree to install the stairs in a portion that is over the revetment. That removes some of the foot traffic over a section of natural bank and prevents the construction of the stairs over natural bank. At the same time, this allows us to propose a self-solution to stabilize the bank and provide some plantings that will grow a good root mass to hold the soils in place. So in a way, this is beneficial both environmentally, but also for the homeowners to have actually less foot traffic and access the beach sooner. Another component to this project is that the stairs are going to be seasonal. So the intention is that during the off-season, and the off-season as in the past application, Conservation Commission has a particular date that they want these units from being not disassembled, but just unhinged from the platform and removed from the beach, and then a time when they can actually go back. So that's the project that we have before you. The location of the new platform for the seasonal stairs is roughly 44 feet from the property line on the south, and they will be removed and hauled in the upland area of the site. Then during the season, they'll just arrange to have it back on the platform and reaching out to the beach. The stairs overall are 15-foot measured at the angle of the stairs, and it's going roughly from elevation 9 at the top of the revetment to like elevation 4 or 3 at the beach. This application has also been filed with the Conservation Commission through a notice of intent application, and we had our first hearing with Conservation. We have an upcoming second hearing with them. So that's the project before you. If there's any questions, I'll try to answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone here today that would like to speak in favor of this application, either here today or on Microsoft Teams? If so, please show your hand or indicate you'd like to speak. Don't see anyone. I'll read the correspondence. First, from Conservation Commission. On May 4th, they write, the applicant submitted a notice of intent on March 24, 2026. The project was heard by the Conservation Commission on April 8th, 2026. The project was continued to May 13th, 2026 for revisions in order to be conditioned to meet the performance standards under the Wetlands Protection Act and Chapter 272 of the town's wetlands. Then we have a note from Stephen Lowe. Stephen and Gail Lowe are at 86 Plum Daffy Lane, and they write on May 8th, we support this application. And that is the extent of the correspondence. Is there anyone here today or on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak against this application or has a specific question? Don't see anybody. Questions from the board? Start with Lee, please.
No questions at this time.
Dave Veach.
I have no questions, Dave.
Ed.
I was able to meet the owner out there today when I was looking at it, and he was able to go through the project with me and was able to answer all my questions, so I'm good.
Were there any questions you'd like to share with us? Or they were all secret?
Well, from what I saw and what I learned, it makes perfect sense to me what they're doing out there, and is going to be an improvement over what was there before it was eroded away. Basically, there was a existing path that went beyond the seawall, which got eroded away. Now by putting in this set of stairs, which they can pull up and put down, they'll be able to put it over the seawall, so there won't be any issues, and the path is getting much shorter. Where you're putting the rolls, the coconut rolls, or the path will not have to go over that, so it won't cause any erosion over there. So the owner was very knowledgeable about the project and did a good job presenting it to me.
Paul.
I have no questions.
Ginny.
Raul, I have a couple of questions for you. So these are aluminum stairs. Are they required to be seasonal? Like, you couldn't leave those out all, isn't that a requirement with aluminum stairs over a revetment?
So we could have proposed a permanent structure, but from the onset and based on my past experience with several town conservation commission, it is best to have seasonal stairs to avoid them being damaged during the winter storms. During the winter storms, homeowners are typically not at the sites, and these fixed structures, permanent structures, will just take the blunt of any storm. So for the environment's safety, but also for the finance that the property owners are going to be investing into this, it's better for them to protect the stairs by being able to remove it. And they understand that there is labor that they need to engage in removing them and resetting them. But on the long haul, it's a better project because the stairs are still protected by being dismantled. And even though there is this seasonal time period, there could be storms within the time that the stairs are in place. Mm-hmm. And by being seasonal, the homeowner has the ability of engaging someone to detach them should there be a hurricane coming in August, September, and protect the structure, and then reset them afterwards.
Okay, yeah, I like that because not really crazy about the, going over that a really attractive stone revetment. Usually when you see them built into the revetment, for when they're originally done, but I understand that wouldn't be possible at this point. So I like the fact that they would be removed and would encourage that to happen. Another question I have is, so where the stairs were lost, the little walkway, the wooden walkway, and then, so when we were there, we didn't see any stairs remaining. Like, we weren't totally sure that what we were looking at. So are they all gone there? They're completely gone?
Right, so in the application, we submitted some photographs of what it looked when the damage was observed by the homeowner. Yeah. So they removed the damage. The debris was removed and disposed of before any filing was done with either conservation or with this board. Okay. So the remnants are not visible, but he has photographic evidence from what was there.
And also, it's common, right, to have the end of a revetment have what they call, is that called beach scour? So it's very common to see that. Now, your restoration plan will mitigate that or eliminate that?
So, right, typically, a stone revetment has a return. Yeah. Not just stone revetments, any other man-made structures such as bulkheads, seawalls, and stuff. There is a return that kind of protects that transition between a hard surface and a natural surface. Once the scour happened, the erosion happened, we can see that there is evidence that there is no return on this revetment. If we allow this scour or this erosion to continue, it will continue to scour behind the revetment and compromise the revetment. What this soft solution is going to do now that we have the ability to install something, the soft solution becomes kind of like the anchoring between a hard surface and the rest of the natural bank.
Which will actually help protect the revetment long-term. That's the plan, okay. Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
Steve?
Well, I was going to ask that very same question about what your plan was for mitigation or restoration. So can you just sort of describe, other than the revetment, what other measures are going to be taken there in that area?
So Ray, not that I'm a specialist on plants, but there's a lot of invasives that are going to be removed from this coastal bank for an area that's much bigger than what we're discussing here. There's going to be planting of native species. So in terms of additional benefits that this overall project is improvement in habitat, both habitat for the animals and birds and so forth, but also enhancing the vegetation. We're going to add some diversity to the vegetation that has been identified, which I'm not going to go into specifics because I don't know them. But yes, there's a greater environmental benefit by this project. The elimination of the foot traffic over that southern 40-something feet portion of the bank, that also provides this benefit of the typical foot traffic loosening the soils, but also foot traffic prevents vegetation from growing. But now by removing all that, that 44-foot southern section of the property will be vegetated and will be maintained with this soft solution that allows plants to go through. So environmentally, there's more benefits than there are benefits for the homeowners to access the beach.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
I'll move to close the hearing, move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Paul votes yes.
Jenny votes yes.
I vote yes.
Okay, and I vote yes. Dave?
I like it. No, it's a short answer. No, I mean, when I went out and looked at it and looked at the plan, this makes a lot of sense and is very much an improvement in the situation and also overall because I think stopping where they'd like to stop and putting the steps down over the revetment makes a great deal of sense. And having it removable, as he's pointed out, has some real advantages, both in the off-season, but also if there are going to be any storm events when the steps are in place, it's easier to take those out. So it meets all of our criteria, and I'm happy to support it.
Ed?
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense to me. What's interesting about this property is the seawall ends, quite a ways from the property line. And, there's this saying, you never want to own the property at the end of a seawall because you get all that scouring. And now adding the soft solution, I'm hoping that your engineering all works and that keeps that area stable, and hopefully it doesn't just force erosion further down the property. But it makes total sense to me, putting the stairs where it is. My only slight concern is now we're hardening a larger portion is being hardened with a soft solution. But I'm expecting that soft solution will do its job, and certainly better than extending the seawall, a hard solution. So I think it's a good project, and I think it meets our criteria.
Paul?
I agree. I think it's a good solution, and hopefully it will work. I have some skepticism with respect to some of these soft solutions because I've seen down in the South Chatham area by the motel and going towards Red River, that soft solution has been tried on 2 or 3 different occasions, and it hasn't worked on any of them. So although it's holding a bit now, but I think this is as good a solution as you're going to get, and it's an improvement over what's there now, certainly. So I will approve it.
Jenny?
Yeah, I agree with my colleagues. I thought that on the property, the existing wooden in-ground steps that were there were really nice, very nicely done. And so it makes sense to put this temporary solution at the end of that. And it's towards the end of the property. So I think it makes sense. Also, conservation did, as I recall, really found your soft solution presentation to be very exciting and acceptable to them. So I liked hearing that as well. So, yeah, I think it's a good solution to, much better than trying to redo that corner, which I think is just very futile and really not a good solution. So I'm glad you're not proposing that, and I would support it.
Steve?
Yeah, I feel the same as I think everybody else has said, that I think this is probably a better solution than the way it was, and it sounds like you have a good restoration plan for the portion of the property that was damaged, so I think overall it's a good project. Good luck.
Lee?
Yeah, I agree with my colleagues too. It's a good plan. But I just wanted to maybe state the obvious here in that this is very different from what we just dealt with, in that it's access to the beach, but it's one homeowner and it's not through a salt marsh. So it makes sense to do this.
Yeah, it certainly does. Is it wishful thinking? Don't know. We'll find out. But it's worth a try. It's worth a try. Paul?
I will move to approve the application as submitted with the condition that all construction activity and vehicles shall be contained on-site or at a neighboring property with the permission of the property owner, that between June 30th and Labor Day, no exterior construction shall be allowed, no work shall be permitted on the weekends, and construction activity between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. only.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Paul votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. That's a unanimous decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Sarah, 26-031, please.
Application number 26-031, Ann DeFusco, care of William G. Litchfield Esquire, 330 Orleans Road, North Chatham, Mass. 02650. Owner of property located at 88 Pondview Avenue. Also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 11D, Block 6, Lot 18. The applicant proposes to change, alter, or expand a non-conforming dwelling on a non-conforming lot via the removal of a deck and the construction of additions and a covered porch. The existing dwelling is non-conforming, and it is located 11.4 feet from the southerly abutter, where a 15-foot setback is required. The proposed covered porch will be non-conforming in that it will be located 12.9 feet from the southerly abutter, where a 15-foot setback is required. The existing building coverage is 1,832 square feet, 10%, and the proposed building coverage is 2,084 square feet, 11.4%, where 15% is the maximum allowed. The lot is non-conforming in that it contains 18,228 square feet, where 20,000 square feet is required in the R20 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6, and Section 5B of the Protective Bylaw.
Mr. Litchfield.
Good afternoon. Bill Litchfield here on behalf of Ann DeFusco and her husband Bill are on the 1-2-3rd aisle down. With them today is an extraordinarily dedicated neighbor who has come to listen to a lot of important discussion, but she's here on behalf of her neighbors. Ann and Bill have owned this house for 8-9 years, something like that, and are in the process of retiring and are looking for more full-time use. Actually, retirement wasn't contemplated before 3 o'clock this afternoon, but over the course of the afternoon, they're now in that direction. They and their 2 grandchildren so far need some additional space, primarily a mudroom, an entryway, which is part of the proposal. It's a 71 square feet addition, which is within the side, not within the sideline setback. But they also would like to put on the architectural feature of a front porch, which does not impinge on the street setback, But because of the existing location of the house itself, the southerly end, when you're facing the house, the left-hand side of the front porch, is within the sideline setback. So I'll go straight into the criteria. I think you've had a long afternoon as to adequacy of site on the third page, and for that matter, the compatibility of size. On the third page of the handout, most of the lots of the neighborhood are non-conforming. Our coverage is at the lower end, our gross floor area and living area in the middle of neighboring properties. I think you can find the site to be adequate for the 71 square foot conforming expansion of the house for the mudroom, and also for construction of the front porch. Coverage remains well below the limit, and the porch is further away from the sideline than is the existing house. As to compatibility of size, again, we have a small increase of 71 square feet of gross floor area and living area. Coverage increases, but is again far below the maximum. It remains consistent with the neighborhood. Gross floor area and living area increase, but they're still significantly lower than several others, and certainly compatible. As to the extent of increase in nonconformity, our two existing lots are nonconformities, as Sarah read in the hearing notice, are lot size and sideline nonconformities. We're meeting the street setback, but the porch, again, like the house itself, is within the sideline setback, but further from the lot line as is the existing house. As such, there is no increase in nonconformity. And perhaps it's an important fact to raise. The abutter on the southerly side is completely in support of this proposal. We didn't ask to generate a letter because we thought it was a fairly simple proposal. But I can represent to you that the abutter on that side of the house where the porch is encroaching is in support. As to suitability of site, there are no environmental issues here. Scale, sighting, mass, views, and vistas. The existing structure is a simple cape, although it's been modified over the years. The sighting will, of course, remain unchanged. It will be a far from massive house. The front porch will have a minimal, but I think positive impact on streetscape. There are no views or vistas involved. As to compatibility of use, it's purely residential. Adequacy of water and sewer, we have town water right now. We have a Title V for 4 bedrooms. Pondview Avenue was scheduled by the town of Chatham to be sewered, to be completed between September of 2015 and May of 2017. Yes, that's 10 years ago and it hasn't happened yet, but it is happening very soon. Sewers will be on Pondview Avenue before another 10 years goes by. And I didn't make those dates up, by the way. Those were the official dates from 2012. No impact on traffic flow and safety, noise, litter, or utilities. So the question, as you know, is whether the proposed addition of 71 square feet of living area for an entryway and constructing of a front porch is substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. I think you can find that it is not. The project provides additional small but important space for the DeFusco family, with most of the additional and conforming coverage stemming from the front porch. It's a simple and appropriate design as shown there. The affected abutter, again, to the south supports it. The north side, the opposite side, is heavily vegetated. There is one letter raising some issues to which I'd be happy to respond if you'd like me to, but that's up to the board. I think in light of the criteria and the plans, you can find the proposed changes are not substantially detrimental to the neighborhood. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Is there anyone here today on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this proposal? Seeing none? One's hesitating. Yes. Okay.
You have to come up here.
Are you the patient neighbor? I am. Okay. Just state your name, please.
Melinda Richards. I'm a resident of 79 Pondview Ave. My family's owned that house since 1971, and I really appreciate the design that they came up with because it doesn't alter the character of our street as much as some of the other buildings have been doing. So I'm fully in support. I saw the plans. I think they're beautiful.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to join the conversation? Seeing no one, I'll read the correspondence. First is from Judith Giorgio, Town of Chatham, Board of Health. She writes, on May 20th, I have no concerns about the renovations in addition to this existing 5-bedroom dwelling. Then we have a letter. On May 8th, James Augustine, Agostine, writes, my name is James. I own the property at 70 Pondview. I am writing to you regarding this. I am not in the butter to the property in question. I have served for 10 years on the Planning Commission in my hometown in Connecticut, and although I am not directly affected by this appeal, I feel there are rules in place for a reason. The fact that this property application would be non-conforming in 3 instances concerns me. When I view the property online and in person, it appears the addition to the home on the north side is the one 11.4 feet from the northerly neighbor. If the owner is going through the expense of the proposed additions, why not remove the addition and conform in this regard? It seems to me the design can be made that would not violate any rules, even if it may not be optimal. A hardship case with one violation would be one thing, but this seems to be excessive, in my opinion. I believe that approving this application would make for a very slippery slope. Well, this, just my comment, this seems to be a confusing letter. If we're talking about variances, hardships, and all that. Mr. Litchfield, would you like to respond to this?
I think, Mr. Chairman, given the length of this afternoon's hearing, I'll simply respect the chair's comments unless you'd like me to respond.
No.
Thank you.
No, that's it, fine. Okay, that's the end of the correspondence. Is there anyone here today or on Microsoft Teams, sorry, ma'am, that would like to speak against this application or has a specific question? I don't see anybody, so does anybody have any questions at all? Any questions from anybody? No? Okay, Paul?
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
David seconds and votes yes.
All vote yes.
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Ed, deliberations.
Certainly not detrimental to the neighborhood. I think it's a very nice project, and if I was voting, it would be easy for me to vote yes.
Paul?
I agree with Ed.
Jenny?
Yeah, I think Mr. Litchfield laid it out very well in his proposed and his narrative. I think it's modest, but a really meaningful proposal, and I would support it.
Steve?
Yeah, I would support this. It looks like what's causing the setback issue is a chimney that was probably there since the house was built. So I don't think that really comes into play. And the majority of the work is being done on the opposite side of the house where there isn't an issue. So I think this is a nice project. The neighbors seem to think so as well. I have no issue.
Lee?
Yep, I think it meets our criteria. I think it's a great reorganization of space, and a front porch is always a good addition.
Dave?
Yes, I agree, and I just, when I read the letter in opposition, it seemed there was some confusion
Yeah, definitely.
on the part of the letter writer. So, no, I'm very much in favor of this. It's meets
Okay.
all of our criteria.
Paul? How about conditions?
I guess, would you expect the standard conditions given
That
the
would,
location?
that would be acceptable.
All right, I'll move to approve the application as submitted with the conditions that all construction activity and vehicles shall be contained on-site or at a neighboring property with the permission of the property owner, that between June 30th and Labor Day, no exterior construction shall be allowed, no work shall be permitted on the weekends, and construction activity between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. only.
And Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
All vote yes?
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
I vote yes, that's unanimous. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you
Litchfield.
very much.
Okay. Back to 26-029.
Application number 26-029, Leonard A. Formato Jr. and Susan I. Formato, care of James M. Norcross Esquire, P.O. Box 707, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owners of property located at 191 Shore Road, also shown in the Town of Chatham's Assessors Map 16E, Block 17, Lot 4. The applicant proposes to install an exterior mechanical system appliance generator 18.1 feet from the southerly abutter and 20.8 feet from the westerly abutter, where a 25-foot setback is required. The property contains 7,472 square feet in the R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 9, and Section 8D2B of the protective bylaw.
Good afternoon, Jamie Norcross on behalf of Leonard and Susan Formato. This application is for the installation of a new generator. Similar to your first application this afternoon, it's using the new, or somewhat new, the 2025 zoning bylaw amendment that allows a generator within the abutter setback through special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals. So the location is on the site plan that you see on the screen, highlighted in yellow. And so it's going to be located behind the existing house as seen from Shore Road and behind the existing bunkhouse as seen from Bay Lane. And we are 8.1 feet from the abutter to the south and almost 21 feet from the abutter to the west. So moving along to the relevant criteria, number one, adequacy of the site in terms of size. The lot is small. I'd suggest that the bylaw change was really tailor-made for a property like this, where it's difficult for a generator to meet the abutter setback. And the location of the generator is such that it'll be blocked from view by both the street and the abutting properties due to the existing structure. And on the site you saw, there's a pretty significant vegetative buffer along the west side of the lot. Suitability of the proposed, just to back up on that real quick. On the third page of the handout I just submitted, I attached the assessor's GIS mapping. And so you'll see we are 191, which is outlined in yellow. And so the 8-foot setback, that is to 179, and so on that plan, you can really see the distance between where the generator would be and the house on that location. And as it relates to 70, where we're going to be 20 feet from this, almost 21 feet from the lot line, that is a detached garage in that property, so it's not a house for 70 Bay Lane. Circling back to the criteria, number 4, impact of neighborhood visual character. I would say there's no negative impact on neighborhood visual character, as the generator will be largely unseen from the street and neighboring properties. Adequacy of utilities, the generator will be able to connect to existing gas and electric services at the property. Noise and litter, no issues with litter, of course, and I think the noise is mitigated by the fact that this property, the grade for one is below the neighboring properties. And as I mentioned, the generator is going to be a significant distance away from any neighboring homes. And as mentioned in your first application, the generator is only used during power outages, exclusive of testing. And so certainly very limited in duration. And number 8, compatibility of the proposed use with surrounding land uses. This is an accessory use to a residential home, and I would say compatible with the surrounding land uses, which are also residential in nature. So based on the criteria of Section 8, again, I believe that we qualify for issuance of a special permit. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone here today or on Microsoft Teams wishes to speak in favor? I'll read the correspondence. Is there anyone here today that would like to speak against it or has a specific question? Are there any questions from anybody on the board?
I'd like to hear the correspondence again.
I wish I could do that all the time. Throw away the key. Paul?
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
David seconds and votes yes.
All votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Deliberations. Anybody want to deliberate? Lee, sure.
I think this makes sense. I think, it's a small piece of property. They've been able to tuck it in there in a perfect spot. I don't see that it's detrimental in any way.
Meets all of our criteria and it's not substantially more detrimental. Yeah.
I agree.
I agree with our colleagues.
Well, I agree too. I think Jamie said it very well. This is tailor-made, the bylaw is tailor-made for this proposal. It's a very small lot, but also just the importance of a generator. You know, we had the opportunity to speak with the homeowner and understand that, but just broadly across Chatham, we all went through the winter that we did. We know how important they are. So I'm really happy. And I like, Jamie, how you pointed out, the homeowner pointed out to us when we were doing the site visit that the property on 70, you know, was a shed. He made sure he pointed that out. But I'm glad you pointed it out, because when you look at it, you know, if anyone's watching and they see a structure there, they might say, well, that doesn't seem fair. But it makes complete sense, and I would support it.
I would suggest that perhaps the only condition we need on this one would be that all construction activity and vehicles be contained on site or at a neighboring property with the permission of the property owner. So I'll move to approve on the basis of that condition.
Yeah, Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
And Paul votes yes.
Jeannie votes yes.
I vote yes.
I vote yes. That's a unanimous
Great.
decision.
Thank you very
Thank you, Jamie. 26-020, please.
Application number 26-020, Akawi Family Trust LLC, care of Stonefield Engineering and Design, 201 Washington Street, Suite 201, Salem, Mass. 01970. Owner of property located at 655 Main Street, also shown in the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 14E, Block 2, Lot 43. The applicant proposes to establish and operate a formula business, Chase Bank, under Section 3C4C of the Protective Bylaw. The applicant is and proposes to do business as a bank, which utilizes a standard array of services, trademark, service mark, and logo utilized by 10 or more other businesses worldwide. The structure is located in the GB1 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 9, and Sections 3C, 4C, and 8D, 2B of the Protective Bylaw. This was continued from April 23rd, 2026.
Good afternoon to the board. I'm Arturo Buonrostro with Stonefield Engineering, located at 120 Washington Street in Salem, Massachusetts. Also with me is Kevin Kelly and just Kevin Kelly with Core States Group, the architectural group for the project as well. And we are here on behalf of JP Morgan Chase Bank to propose the adaptive reuse of the property at 655 Main Street. Just as a brief summary of the entitlement process and where we stand. This has gone before the planning board and HBDC and been approved for the signage, site improvements, and building improvements. Just going through the existing conditions of the site. In our analysis of the site, we found that the site had non-compliant ADA aspects such as the parking area, the path to the front entrance, which includes the ramp. In terms of the vegetation, a lot of it, in our analysis, we saw that was either overgrown or in poor condition, as well as just in the general parking area, cracking, and wooden curbing along the parking spaces. So in our site plan, page C4, you can see that a lot of our proposed improvements are centered around bringing the site up to ADA compliance, which includes a new proposed ADA parking area, path of travel, and ramp, which will all be ADA compliant. I would like to note that the existing building, which is now vacant, also historically operated as a bank. We are looking also to maintain the access points of the existing site from Stage Harbor Road and Main Street, as well as propose a new trash enclosure, which you can see in the rear of the site. And we think this is a great opportunity to patch up some of that cracking that we saw in the parking area, and propose improve landscaping within the entirety of the site, kind of revamp and activate a site like this in such a high visibility area. Some other improvements that I would like to touch on are the lighting improvements, which I believe it's page C7. Yes. Which we are proposing in accordance with the regulations of both the General Business District and Historical District, while also maintaining the security standards for patrons and customers. With that being said, we're very excited at the opportunity to revitalize this site, and want to thank the city, or the town, and all the boards for their continued assistance throughout the process. I'd love to open it up to any questions now.
Thank you. No one's left here. Anybody on Microsoft wish to speak in favor of this? No, I guess not. All right, we do have some correspondence. This is from the HBDC. A note from Chantel Kilkenny. She says on May 8th, the HBDC met and rendered the following decision. The commission voted 5-0 approving the site improvements and alterations to the structure and property at 655 Main. And then we have a note from Christine O'Grady, who's the town planner. And I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's not necessary. But at the end, she writes, the planning board voted to unanimously approve the site plan approval, amended change of use application for the above property. Planning board also recommends that the ZBA approve the formula business use. I don't think I need to read any more of that. Yeah.
And she did include the statement of conditions that was emailed to them.
Which are the usual? Yeah, okay. All right. Okay, so, well, I'll ask. Is there anybody at Microsoft Teams that wants to speak against this as a question? No. Okay. Does anybody on the board have any questions?
I have one.
You do? Well, go ahead. Good.
Very small question. Lighting, I just wanted to confirm that their signage, rather. There's no signage on the southern side? There's light, but there's no sign over the door or anything? It's not illustrated? Is that-
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the only sign, Chase sign on the east side is the one above the door. That's it?
I'm sorry, on the eastern
On
side?
the eastern side?
Yes, that is the ATM side?
Yes, the ATM.
Yes. That's correct.
Okay. That's all I have.
Anything else? Okay.
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
All vote yes?
Jeannie votes yes.
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Deliberations.
Okay, well, I think it's a very important location, as you know, right there at the corner and the entry to downtown. And I think it's an improvement to what's there now, so I like it.
Steve?
Yeah, I'm glad to see that the building is being rehabilitated somewhat and repurposed and reused. You know, it's been empty for quite a while and been a little bit overgrown. So I'm glad to see somebody's finally taking the initiative to clean that up. And I think it's a good project.
Lee?
I agree with my colleagues.
Dave?
Yeah, it meets all of our standards and criteria. I mean, it's certainly it's a formula business, but there's no, not presenting any negative aspect to this at all, of that part of it. Thanks.
I agree. I think if memory serves me right, the reason we didn't approve it the last meeting, we were just waiting for HBDC to.
Yeah, and the planning board had not received the site.
Yeah, so, and I don't think anything has changed, and I would still support it, and I think it's going to be a nice improvement to that area.
Paul?
going to be a lot of people using that, who have been using that for free parking that are no longer.
They're gonna be really unhappy.
Yeah. But clearly, it meets all our criteria, and it's good to see something happening there. So I'll support it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no golden arches or any of that kind of stuff, which is what we've been for. And let's face it, a bank is a bank. You had a bank, you got a bank. And I know I shouldn't say that, they're all different, right? But anyway, okay, Paul.
I'll move to approve the application as submitted. I guess the question would be, do I need our standard conditions here?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think the only people that would be disrupted are the people that are using it for free parking right now. So I'll just move to approve it as submitted.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Let me revise that by saying all construction activity and vehicles shall be contained on site or at a neighboring property with the permission of the property owner. Add condition.
Yeah, and I will second it with that attachment, yes.
And I'll vote yes. I'll vote yes.
Jenny votes yes.
I vote yes.
I vote yes, that's a unanimous decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. We have one more piece of business for today. Let me sign my name. As we all know, one of our members has taken a demotion, I guess I'd have to say it. And certainly it's from my standpoint. Anyway, Randy is no longer with us because she was elected to the Select Board. So congratulations to her. She spent 5 years, I believe, with us, 6, maybe 5 or 6, one of those two. I don't know. It seems like longer, but anyway, she was a great member, and we thank her for her service and wish her only the best in the future. Which brings us to the letter that Sarah and I both received on Friday, May 15th. Ink was still dry on the ballots. With the election of Randy to the Select Board, there is now a vacancy on the ZBA. As you know, there are currently 3 associate members, and its next meeting, maybe I should have said, and at its next meeting, the ZBA may wish to consider recommending one of the members to be elevated from associate to full member. Randy's term was through 2028. That would be the end of June of 2028. So the person being moved up would be filling that term through June 30th, 2028. The ZBA would need to list this as an agenda item, which we did. We need to take a vote on which member they would recommend being elevated to full member status and send a transmittal of that vote that would list the date of the vote, the motion, the vote count to me, so I can schedule it for consideration by the Select Board, and that was from Kathy Lewis. Kathy is the executive assistant for the town manager and the Select Board. So I am very pleased that we have 3 great associates, and we do. But there is one who's outstanding and has a trump card on the other 2 because of the years that she has spent here. She's been with us for more than 3 years as an associate. She has suffered through scores of applications and meetings, and a lot of times she drives around with Ginny and I, and I think that's enjoyable for her. We try and make it anyway, and not painful. But she's come to understand that being on this board isn't an easy thing. You have to know what substantially detrimental, what the heck does that mean? Well, there's no definition that you're going to be handed. And what's the neighborhood, anyway, what's this neighborhood business? Well, we have some cases that tell you what it isn't, but it really doesn't help you with what it is. And it takes time. It takes time to understand what you're doing. It takes time to understand we impact the lives of the applicants who come here, both personally as far as their lifestyle, financially, certainly we impact neighborhoods. And I was kidding about Randy taking a demotion. Well, she can worry now about things like parking meters, dogs on the leash or not on the leash, and I don't know, that kind of stuff. One day, booze permits, things like that. Well, good luck. Anyway, so it's my privilege to recommend that we vote that Lee Hovey become our new member.
And
Plus the things I just said about Lee, she also comes with something that not everybody has, and you don't learn it. If I had to describe her in one term, Lee actually exhibits and has common sense, and that isn't always true.
yes, I would echo that, and I will happily second that nomination, and also say that it's in keeping with what has been a longstanding tradition of elevating the most senior associate member, that the Board of Selectmen has strayed from that somewhat from time to time over the past 5 or 6 years. But in this case, it's certainly happy to support this. So I second that nomination and an enthusiastic yes vote.
Yeah, and so voting is by members only, so that would be a yes from Dave. Paul?
And I am happy to support Lee as well. She's doing a great job, and hopefully will continue on for many more years.
Jenny?
I couldn't have said it any better, but I will just say I'm so happy that you're having this opportunity, and I fully support it.
And obviously, I vote yes. And so we can't vote for the select board, but they need to confirm this. When they're going to do this, I don't know. But as you heard from what I just read, they're in a rush for us to do this, to write this letter to Sarah and I Friday. It tells me they want an answer, so they're going to get an answer tomorrow. So,
Well, thank you very much.
no.
I am scheduled to go before the select board on the 9th.
Well, hopefully that won't be necessary.
Oh, all right,
But if it is, okay, then you have something. But
that's fine.
I think that's for a little different situation, so
All
anyway.
right. Well, thank you all.
No. Okay.
I'll move to adjourn.
And David seconds and votes yes.
Ed votes yes.
All vote yes?
Jenny votes yes.
Steve votes yes.
I vote yes.
And I'm going to vote yes, too. What time is it anyway?
5:17 PM.
Okay, very good. Thank you all, and see you.